How are you and the family doing then, mate?
Yeah, we're good, thank you. Yeah, my eldest daughter starts school tomorrow, so um, I think she's excited, and I'm probably nervous. But no, yeah, she's only going in for like a couple of hours, so it'll be good for her. But yeah, it's definitely one of them exciting, nervous kind of things.
Yeah, I bet it is. Bet it's all been goals today then, mate, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, not really. I mean, over here they don't really have uniforms, so she's
All
uh,
right.
literally just like mufti day all the time. Wear your own uniform, which can be good and bad, really.
Yeah.
I've realised that she doesn't have as many clothes as I thought she had, so we're gonna have to go when we go back to England in October. We'll have to go to Primark and Next and things like that, and just buy loads
Yeah.
of bags of clothes.
You looked chuffed about that, mate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, as a youngster, mate, where was home and who lived with you as a kid?
Yeah, so I lived in a small town in Hampshire called Fleet. I lived with my parents and my brother and two sisters.
Right. So, where does that competitive edge come from? Did you and your brother have the odd battle at home and stuff?
No, my brother's like 8 years older than me, so and he's
Bit one-sided.
well, yeah, he would be a lot bigger than me. So even probably now, he'd probably be one-sided. So no, I never really had battles with him. If it was done pretty quickly. I think it was after maybe like a Star Wars film or something like that. I think I might have been playing like a bamboo stick, and I was like going at him like a lightsaber. And then I think he grabbed the other end of it and then just whacked me around the face with it, and I got like a chip in my lip, and I've still got it now, where he just absolutely caught me with it. but yeah, so it's pretty easy to know that I probably wouldn't stand a chance.
So, put you in your place early, mate.
Yeah, definitely. But no, competitive really. I've just probably just never really liked losing as a kid. I was probably if you ask them, they'd probably ask me. I was probably say I was a very sore loser. Any sort of like physically or board games, I hated losing. I'd probably just like connect four. I'd just chuck it out of the way if I was losing. So
Must be some of them rugby players that, mate. We're all trying to be the banker in Monopoly so we can just slip
oh
off
yeah,
naughty.
yeah.
So how was you introduced to rugby and where was it that you first went?
So I was introduced to rugby union when I was 4. Where I was from, it wasn't really rugby league orientated. It was no rugby league teams. It was just all rugby union. So I did that when I was 4. And that was at a club called Farnborough. It was just like 5 minutes down the road. When I was 8, I moved to another rugby union team because my brother moved to the same rugby union team called. And then from there, I just played until I was about 15. But when I was 10 years old, I think it was, my brother had been like scouted for London Broncos reserves. So he'd been playing in the summer for them. And he noticed they trained at a university called Brunel. And, it's like an amateur team, like a young kids just like training at the same time that the reserves are training.
Yeah.
And so we just said, oh, we'll go down there, see what it's about, see if I can even join in, to be fair.
Right.
And then I think it was Wednesday night or something, and then just went down there, asked if I can join in and stuff, and it turned out to be West London Sharks under 13 side, and I was only 10 at the time, so I couldn't actually technically play till I was 11. But yeah, that was kind of how I got introduced to rugby league. I mean, I had been watching it, like not like vigorously, not like every game, but I remember, I don't know what age I would have been, but I remember being at a certain age, I was watching like grand finals of like Bradford Bulls and St Helens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's always been like a bit of interest. And my granddad's he was like a big St Helens fan, and he used to watch rugby league all the time. So it is kind of in my family, just where I lived, it was never never really played. It was always rugby union.
Yeah, I play both, but you're overcrowded down south, Mike, aren't you? There's like a rugby union club everywhere, isn't there, mate?
Yeah. Well, where I was, you're talking London Irish, Harlequins, Saracens weren't too far away, and clubs like that. And then football and golf are just massive around that area as well. So rugby league would be. It wouldn't, even when I went to school, mate, it was never heard of.
Yeah. So do you know, even at that young age, mate, how did you find the differences in both courts? So how was the setup as a junior down south? So was it full tackle from the off, or was it late tag?
Or
in union, mate?
Oh, it was, when I was 4, it was literally just like tick and pass. It was just not like tags, but like literal touch and pass. And probably up until the 8, I think it was under 9s, under 10s, till it went to under full contact. But the setup in general, like for union, was like bob on. Really, it was, when I moved from, I can't remember my time at Farnborough, but when I was at Chobham, it was like a kind of a step up in terms of teams. And there was like tournaments all the times, and like county tournaments, stuff like that. So it was always pretty competitive.
Right, and so you touched on county stuff there, mate. So before, say, you transition into high school, was there any county stuff for junior school stuff? So say 10 to 11?
Yeah, no, not in union, no. I went for, I think I only caught the last trial for my county, because my county was Hampshire where I lived, but then I could qualify for Surrey as well because of my team was in Surrey, because I was just on the border of the two counties. But I literally caught the last 2 trials of each one. There was 3 in total, but I only caught the last one, so I never actually got called back for anything in county level at union. And then I think that was like under 15s, I think, and it was just around the same time that I was starting to pick up league a bit, and I got selected for England youth at that time. So it was kind of a choice of, do I stay with union and potentially get into county, or go down the road of league, where I was enjoying league more at the time anyway, so it was kind of an easy decision for me.
Right, so we'll rewind a bit, mate, and we'll touch on that in a bit, if that's all right. Yeah. So how did you find the transition into high school then?
Yeah, no, it was all good. I mean, I was pretty sporty. I loved sport. I still do now. Like, I love watching sport, cricket, football, whatever, really. And pretty much I was just, same as any kid at break times, playing football with my mates and stuff.
Right.
And just cracking on that way, really.
So where would you play at break, mate? Are you a centre forward?
Oh yeah, no, I was there centre mid, I think.
Was you a sprayer?
Distribute the ball about and have a little.
I was a little goal hanger, me, little rebound, that's right. So when you're climbing through school then, and the levels are getting a bit, because they do, whether people like it or not, parents, coaches, the levels get serious, mate, with the age groups, don't they, and gets a bit more intense. How are you finding coming back into from Colts? Did you find it easy?
Probably. It was easy in terms of, I knew like the rules of both, obviously.
Yeah.
And there was never a cross wires or anything like that. I don't know, maybe a bit of frustration at times, because I was playing for a team in league and we were winning all the time, because in London there was only about, at the time when I was playing, there's only about 6 or 7 actual amateur teams.
Right. So you just play each other quite regularly, yeah?
Yeah. And then I went back to Union, and and it was a good team. When we were in juniors, we were like winning a lot, and then we went up to like I don't really want to call it the seniors, but like the under 15, under 14 type, where they go big field and everything. Probably weren't like the biggest side, so we were coming up against quite big sides and getting dominated quite a bit. So it was a bit frustrating at times with that. And to be fair, I probably was a bit raw in both games. Really, I wasn't really. You're still at that age where you're still learning the game, definitely, all that way. But in terms of transition between the both, I enjoyed it because it never really was, I play on Saturday, play on Sunday. It was more of a play on Sunday union until March, then league would take over after that. The only time when it really went side by side was when I was in the England youth and I had training up in Leeds on like a Saturday, and then on the Sunday I had a match the next day. But I was at an age where, recovery was sweet. It was all good. So but, doing that now.
Play every night then, can't you?
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And suddenly playing tournaments on a Sunday where you play 6 or 7 games to play one game and you're thinking, I'm not going to move out of bed today.
So what was the standard like of your school rugby? So I imagine your school had to play rugby union, sorry.
No, so they didn't even have any rugby.
Right, so you didn't have any standards to compare with?
I think when I was at school, I played maybe 2 games of rugby.
Right.
But that was and then we just never really got enough numbers to play. Yeah. So in terms of school sport, I only did football and athletics, really. That was the only teams that we had, really.
Probably kept you a bit fresh then without knowing it, mate, didn't it? With you playing all year round as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Probably a blessing in disguise, really. Like I say, it wasn't a school that was really renowned for it's rugby. I mean, football wise, it was like big on football. They like to push that, but in rugby terms, it wasn't. But they were good to me in my school in terms of when I got selected for England Rugby League, they'd always be happy just to give me time off to go travel up north to get to training and all that. So they were good to me in that way.
Yeah. And how was that? So, say you reckon you were about 15, Mike, when you started getting noticed?
14, 15, I think it was, yeah.
How was it looking back into then at that age? I suppose you don't really appreciate it, do you? It's when you get older, probably.
Yeah, you probably don't appreciate how much hard work it is for your parents, really. They'd drive me up to, we were training at Kirkstall on a Friday night, and then I'd train on a Saturday. So we'd stay in a hotel Friday night, train Saturday, drive back down, and then the next day they were driving me off to my union matches as well. So yeah, it was good. It was obviously a big step up from the standard of rugby league that I was playing down south to training with people who were playing rugby league all year round and had played rugby league like I'd played rugby union, so they'd been brought up with rugby league. So it was a big step up and one that really helped me, I think.
Yeah, and without knowing it, mate, you're probably, because without being rude, you're probably naive to it down south, but you're at the elite, aren't you? Yeah. These lads are playing against each other every week. Yeah. And you're not getting that opportunity, really.
No. I mean, you see the level of competitiveness they have up there, up north is, it's, at the time, it was massively different to London. You got players, you got 2 different divisions in. It was kind of like what Union was down south to what League is off. You got 2 different divisions in North West, and you got 2 different divisions in Yorkshire as well. So, in terms of regional, the regional path, it was the London team was literally the Harlequins, London Broncos scholarship, whereas the North West region was a mix of Wigan Academy, Saints Academy, and then you've got
Wellington.
So it was different mixes in different teams, but then to go up north and then train with that lot was really good. We had a pretty good, strong England youth team. We had the likes of John Bateman, Stevie Ward, Ben Curry. just to name a few. So it was quite a competitive side.
So positionally, where was you playing in rugby union?
I was more like an inside centre, outside centre.
I was going to say, because tend to be back row of rugby league, you tend to be midfield in rugby union, don't you?
Yeah.
So how did you find reading the game in the centres in rugby union to reading and playing the game in the back row in rugby league? Because for people, watchers and listeners that might not understand, mate, if you play 12, you've got bodies around you defensively. If you play 13, you can be sort of exposed, can't you?
Yeah.
So it's about chatting, learning to build them relationships, but the two very different positions considering the one apart.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I think, I can't remember at the time where I was playing. In league, I was playing centre at the time.
All right, so it was very similar then.
Pretty similar, because at the time I was playing centre, I think, yeah. And I didn't move to the back row till I was like, I think it was 18 maybe.
Okay.
So yeah.
You're always had good hands then, mate, yeah?
Pardon?
You're always had good hands then, mate. Is that just something you've got?
Well, yeah, I think it was more, I used to play so across the road where I used to live was I used to play basketball a lot, and he was Argentinian, and he used to play English professional basketball.
Okay.
And I used to go over, play with his son, like PlayStation, used to play basketball and stuff like that. So a lot of the time was obviously playing basketball, moving the ball about that way.
Yeah.
And just different ball handling skills, stuff like that. So it was a lot come from that. And it also just comes from really, I think I remember watching people like Gidley when he was at Saints, seeing what he used to do and stuff like that. And I just remember watching it thinking, oh, I'll give it a go. And then sometimes it'd come off, but then sometimes it wouldn't.
Yeah, at least you had the balls to try it though, mate.
Yeah. Well, I think you've got to kind of just give it a go sometimes. And practice makes perfect as well. So obviously I've got some practice to do, but we'll see.
So yeah, sorry, it's not that, I mean, you've developed it without realising you've developed it basically, haven't you? So are you someone that, are you allowed to play what you see? Or do you enjoy the structured part of rugby?
Yeah, no, I think there's a time for both of it, really.
Yeah, you've got to earn the right to play, sort of thing, haven't you?
Yeah, it's probably been something that I've learned over the years more recently. I think when I came up from London to Cass, I was probably very raw in the game still. Although I played maybe 40 games, but there were 4. In 2014, we kind of had just like an average age of like 20 years old in the squad.
Right.
But yeah, going up to Cass was probably very naive, and then even probably still going up to when I was 20, 25, still learning the game and learning the structure of the game. And like you say, just playing what you see, but then also knowing when to play what you see and reading the game in terms of the scoreline and how long's left.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's still times in games where you kind of have to revert back to that knowledge, and say you're 18 points down, but there's only 20 minutes to go. You don't need to start chucking it out behind your arse and all that. You can still build a game even though you're 18 points down, and there's still 60 minutes to go, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Well, it's exactly right, mate. There's a time and a place, and there's semi-earning the right to do it, and then there's sometimes having to do it, isn't there? And
yeah, exactly, yeah.
So you're in that age now, mate, 14, 15, like you said, where you're starting to climb the talent ladder on both courts. So when you're coming through we'll start with the union then, mate, and you touched on county. No offence to other people, but just a couple of questions rolled in one, really. Did you find county rugby a little bit cliquey? So had lads already been there for a while and was semi-automatically selected? And 2, how was you in a new environment, and did you settle in easy enough? Or?
Well, it was only really like low intensity training.
Okay.
So it was only like your core skill at that age. It wasn't really 15 on 15. It was never any of that. It was literally just core skill, catch, pass, tackle. And I think you were graded on it.
Right.
And there was a lot of clickiness only towards the schools that you went to.
Okay.
The one that I went to, I didn't go to a private school or anything like that. I just went to a normal school, and a lot of the counties around that area would have been private school or boarding schools and stuff like that. So they were already well known from the selectors, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Doesn't help that they're in the kit already, does it?
No, exactly. Yeah, they were already getting measured up before the training session.
Yeah.
Should have known then.
So, and when you're rocking up, mate, was you ever intimidated's not right, but a bit taken aback by how you're climbing the ladder?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I was already aware to the fact of it because of my brother was already experienced it before me.
Yeah.
And he'd represented county, he'd played for Hampshire. I think he captained Hampshire as well. So he'd already been at county level.
So you semi knew how it worked, mate, really, didn't you?
Yeah. Like he was offered to go to like boarding private schools and stuff off the back of playing for county.
Yeah.
He declined them, but like I knew what it was about.
Yeah.
But when I rocked up, it was just I knew a few of the faces from playing them anyway, from like club level anyway. So it wasn't like intimidation or anything like that. It was really just like I say, it was quite a low key sessions that I did, so it wasn't really anything too intense.
Okay. So when you're going back to rugby league, then, mate, and you talk us through selection processes, if you can remember, and Mike saw from regional to international, and how that selection process worked and how you found it.
Yeah, 2 seconds, mate. I'll just
no worries, mate.
It's starting to get a bit dark out here, so I'm trying to.
It looks like as well you've done me over with an haircut, mate.
No. I think I've just tactically swept it to the side.
Oh, you've done better than me. I just had to stick a custom-made hat on because my head's massive.
How did selection go? It was, like I say, it was... So, like, we did...
So how was you invited to begin with, if that makes it easier? And then talk us through.
Well, we went... No, it was... so we played throughout the year. And then you'd have... In London, you'd get selected for London South and London North.
Okay.
And I think it changed each year, the region. So I think one year I played for North and one played for South. So I can't actually remember which one I played for.
Yeah.
And then from there you get selected for London and the South, which would then, I believe, go on to play in like the regional tournament.
Yeah.
I think it was somewhere near Sheffield that we played it, and we played Yorkshire, North West and Cumbria.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, we then went from London and South to combined regions.
Okay.
Then, because London and South wasn't filled with as many as like North West and Yorkshire, we'd combine with the North East, and we'd have a couple of players from there come down. And yeah, so from there, I think under 14s, I didn't get into national camp then. I believe it was under 15s that I got into national camp after that. And that was the year that we went on to play against Wales under 16s. England under 15s played Wales under 16s.
Right. So how did you take the rejection the year before, mate?
Probably pretty well. In terms of, I used it to motivate myself. I probably knew I wasn't. I didn't take it as if to say I should have been on there.
Yeah.
Because I kind of knew myself I wasn't good enough to be on it.
Right.
So then I probably just wasn't confident enough in my own ability, wasn't strong enough either. So I remember, without knowing it, I remember starting to do a lot of extras.
Right.
Which, like, I'd go down with my dad down to the park and do fitness drills or speed drills, and I'd get up before school and do core workouts. But without knowing it, because I wasn't like in knowledge of it back then, it made me a lot stronger, obviously, in my core, and my body weight strength became a lot bigger. And then I think we played, I can't remember, we played a team from the Northwest when we were playing at club level, West London. And I remember coming up against them and we were like, oh, this team's like really good. And it gave us like they beat us quite comfortably. But I remember thinking, like, we were competing at stages and I was like, oh, I started to like believe in myself a bit more. And I got to the end of the year and I felt really confident in my ability to play rugby league as well.
Yeah.
And it just started to like just come together a bit, and I was making good carries, making good tackles and stuff like that, and just starting to get a bit more noticed.
Right. And how was you in a new environment, mate? Did you just back your rugby and fit in, or was you shy, timid?
Yeah, no, probably quite a quiet person anyway. Even like this day now, I'm not like, go to the changing room, I'm not going to be the loudest person in there. But yeah, probably to start with, I was probably quite shy, and because all these people knew each other from either the year before or knew each other from playing against each other. I think there was maybe one or two of us from London, and we didn't know the other people, so we were like, it was good in a way because we were chucked into rooms, so we had like 5 lads in one room, and I didn't know any of them, so it was a good way to, like, people like weren't just secluded into their own rooms and told, oh, come out for training. It was, you had to get to know everyone. So
yeah, it forces you to socialise.
You couldn't just shut yourself in a room and hope or wish for the next day kind of thing. But it put me out of my comfort zone massively. But it's definitely something that, to this day, I believe you should be put out of your comfort zone anyway.
Yeah. So you're hitting that age where not only are you leaving school, mate, but you touched on it a little bit yourself, where you're very much at the stage of scholarship papers, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what clubs were aware of you through the national selection, or was you aware of any other clubs other than London interested?
No, yeah. At the time, I was never interested. I was never aware of anyone because I didn't have an agent or anything like that age, and I didn't really think it was a thing to have other clubs interested during that age. But I then found out from, like, when we went on England camps and stuff like that, people like John Bayman had multiple clubs after him and stuff like
that.
Yeah. I think Ben Curry was the same and stuff like that. But no, from what I remembered, I didn't have any other football or anything like that. It was always straight into London and just sign there. Whether that was what I should have done or not, I'm not sure, but it was something that I just thought was normal.
I think in hindsight and knowing what you know now, mate, it was a great springboard for you, wasn't it? And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in terms of when I signed it, I think I was 16 when I signed, and then the year after I started training first team as well. So it was definitely a good starting block for my career.
And when you signed, was there any like a partnership with a college or anything, or was you straight into a full-time environment?
No. So where I signed the deal, and I'd already been offered a place at a college near where I used to live, and it's like known as being a really good college down that area. So it was always my plan to just do that for 2 years and then see what happened after that, really. So for the first year, I was going to college, training in the evenings. Second year, I then started to train first team during pre-season, which was fine. The college good to me as well. They only gave me, I think, most people had to take 4 courses. I think for me, they only made me take 3. Right. So I had days free in the second year, and a lot of my days were only half days or 1 day. So I could get off the training whenever I was free, and the club, London Broncos, were good for me for that.
Yeah, so you've signed papers at 16, and basically within a year, mate, you're playing. Because no offence, 16s and 17s usually, for listeners and viewers that might not know, you had 2 academies. So you had 18s, 21s, didn't you, Mike? Or was it academy reserves?
Yeah, it was, 18s. Then I think it went to under 20s when I was coming up.
Right.
And first team from there.
But you've sort of like, not bypassed, but you kind of have, haven't you? You've been mixing it with men still as a I wouldn't say a kid, but you're still a young adult, if that's the right term.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, when I first signed, I went to under 18s, and then I think the second year I went to under 20s. But it was when the under 20s were allowed 5 overage players.
Yeah,
which I think makes a massive difference. If you look at the level, look at how players are coming through now. They're going from only been allowed to play against, I don't know what, I think it's under 20s, is it?
Yeah, something on that line.
They brought it out recently, haven't they, where they've put reserves back in. But before that, it was players were going playing under 20s to playing against fully grown men. And it's just it's a massive, massive jump. And you're also losing a lot of talent when, some players don't develop properly till they're 22. And then you're losing talent that are just getting swept away because you can't keep them because you can't play any overage players. So when I was coming through, we all had 5 overage under 20s, which it was good and bad at the same time, because I remember I think we went away to Wigan and we were playing under 20s, and I remember, because like I say, you're allowed 5 overage players, we rocked up and then they were like, "Oh, you got Fekir Paliasina on the back line. You got
coming off a kick-off first carry."
That was awesome. Amos Roberts, he was playing for him.
Yeah.
Anthony Gelling as well. So I was like, "Oh, this is awesome."
When you're playing against them players, are you, as much as you're doing your extras, mate, and you're doing your bit to develop?
Yeah.
Do you see it and feel it once you're in amongst that sort of calibre? Because they're like international players you're on about there.
Yeah.
Are you starting to think that you have got what it takes? Because I think sometimes as a kid you can bit of smoke up your ass, can't you? Yeah. And I think without you knowing, it was always known that the likes of you, LMS, Dan Sargentson, you were always going to be London's, like, I don't want to put a term on you, but like a bit golden boys a little bit. You were the face of London Rugby League, wasn't you? For a little while. Well, don't mean to be unfair, mate, sorry.
No, for me personally, I probably didn't realise that like the potential or talent that I had probably till I moved to Cass. When I was at that age, and in a way I was kind of like thinking, look at these people, like that, how good's this? Like, you're in awe kind of thing of them. And I remember having a chat with Powley about it. And he was like, you can't think like that if you want to make it in this game. You got to think that you're like better than them, and you can't be going onto the pitch thinking you don't deserve to be on the field with them. You have to take it to them. And from that moment, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. And then that's how it kind of came about that way. But yeah, when you play against people like that at like reserve level, I think it's good for people like that at that age to be playing against them, especially if they're serious about wanting to make it to Super League.
Kick on, yeah. So it was very much maybe a bit of a naive mindset for you that you just ride in the wave, and then Darryl sort of said, like, if you want to kick on, realise you're just as good, if not better than them. Yeah.
definitely.
That's fair enough, mate. So you actually went out on dual reds, didn't you? So
Yeah.
I ask everyone this, mate. Do you see it as an opportunity, or do you see it as a bit of a kick in the face? How did you take it?
It was during the 2014 season, and I probably saw it coming. I was only 19, I think at the time, 19.
Right.
But yeah, it was, we were part of the team was getting beaten every week. But I saw it coming because obviously I knew myself I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing well. You never take it well anyway because you want to be playing first team, and at that age,
you do.
Sometimes, no, I should be playing. But looking back, and shortly after I got sent on dual reg, I realised it was for the better for me. When I went to London Scholars, it didn't really work out over that way. I think I played 1 or 2 games, and then the coach sent me to Hemel Stags. And at Hemel Stags, the coach was extremely welcoming to me. Encouraging me to. It was encouraging how I can improve my game. Cause sometimes you can get coaches when you go to get players sent on dual reg, they're just obviously chuck them out there. You don't need to worry about them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was good. He was a Australian coach, and he was saying, "this is how we can help improve your game this way." And it was something that really helped me. I think massively. I got 3 or 4 games for them, and I just enjoyed it there. I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed training. It was good.
Yeah. Because again, without being rude to them standards, mate, they're much better than I ever played. But the quality might change, but the toughness probably changes. More difficult, where the quality probably. So it's it's yours, doesn't it, in different ways?
Yeah, if you watch that championship 1, you see the physicality just it goes. It's a bit different to Super League. There's not as much. I don't know, really, kind of the way that wrestle isn't as controlled. Yeah. It's more massive impacts kind of thing, and the speed is different. But yeah, for someone still learning the game like I was, it was a blessing in disguise, really.
Yeah, and so far in your young career, mate, how had you been with injuries? How did you deal with nerves? Had you kept any stash? Because you played at a good standard, so had you checked it, or did your mum and dad keep any gear for you?
So probably for a while I kept my regional stuff and my England youth stuff. I think I've still got a pair of England youth shorts actually.
Yeah.
I probably got my England youth jerseys. But yeah, in terms of stash, probably just kept playing shirts, and I still keep a lot of them now. Especially milestone ones like 100th game, 150, 200 game.
Yeah.
England shirts, I always keep them. But yeah, so just stuff like that, really.
Yeah, and how had you been with injuries, Mike? Up until this point?
Yes, right. At that point, I was good.
Was you? Just little niggles, daft ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So when you go back to London, mate, and your time there's coming to an end, is it a contract expiry? Is it a mutual decision? Would you have stayed? Did you seek a new challenge to develop yourself? What was the situation there?
It was when London got relegated, so the contract that I had, I think I had another year left.
Right.
I knew that was null and void because of the relegation.
Yeah.
London did offer me another 2 years, but it was obviously to play championship.
Yeah.
And I knew.
And would that have been full time? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, that was full time. Yeah. But in myself, I knew I needed to challenge myself in a different area. I needed to get away and kind of experience rugby as well. In London, it's not big. It's not a massive sport. It's growing. It was growing at some point.
Yeah.
I think the setup that they had down there recently was really good. obviously I think they've had to go part-time, but, hopefully they can change soon. Because you look at the talent that they have around that area, like the players that have come through London is probably more than what people know. But yeah, so what was it was one that I just had to get a new challenge and get out of my comfort zone. And obviously I wanted to play Super League. That was my aim.
Yeah.
So I spoke to my agent, and I knew it was time. Even if London offered me, I didn't want to stay there. I wanted to go up north and like I say, get out of my comfort zone and try something different. And yeah, he came in and just said, yeah, there's some interest in the clubs. And then Cass came up with a deal, and at that time they were top of the league at that point, and then they were in the Challenge Cup final because it was the 2014 season, so they were flying under Powell at that point. And as soon as they came in, I was like, oh, how good's that? Like, that's a top quality Super League side, and I'd love to join them. I knew Denny Solomona was going there, Matt Cook, Scott Moore. We were all at London together. Yeah. And those three had signed as well. Scott Wilden was up there, and he played at London, and Luke Dawn was already there, and Luke Dawn had already coached me in the under-18s. Right. So going up there would have been, it was made a bit easier knowing that I knew a few people there.
So there'd have been a few, I'm not asking you to name him if you don't want, but you had a few offers, mate, and with Cass being where he was at the time, and you found that as a perfect opportunity to learn from some of the game best, as well as a coach like Donald Powell. Yeah.
Just the way that he turned around the club in just such a small space of time. And like I say, when I signed, they were up at the top and in the Challenge Cup final. So I was as soon as they came up, as soon as the interest came, I was like, oh, how good would that be? And then a few weeks later, my agent called and said, yeah, they put an offer on the table. So, and this is it. So I was like, oh, yeah. I didn't even really ask about who the interested parties were. Yeah. I knew there and then. I was like, yeah, that's who I'll sign with.
Right. So just being nosy, really, mate. Don't want to know monetary values of things, but how does that sort of thing work? Is there a meeting set up, or is it over the phone? Is it?
No. For this time, because obviously I was only a young player. I think it was just the Cass had spoke to my agent, declared an interest, and then obviously your guess is as good as mine, really. In terms
of the rest is history.
Yeah, how it goes in terms of their chats and that, and it goes back and forth with each other, and they get to the right thing in the end.
So you're a young bloke now, but you're still a very young bloke then, and that's a big move, mate. So what do you do to make it as easy as possible for you before it all kicks off? Do you get up there a bit early and have a look at flats, apartments, houses?
Yeah, what did I think in the off season I went up, had a look around, looked at a few houses to rent. Like I say, it was me, Scott Moore and Denny Solomona, and Matt Cook was going up there, but Matt Cook was already up there. He lived in Warrington. Yeah. So me, Scott Moore and Denny Solomona, we just said to each other, oh yeah, we'll save a bit of money and we'll move in together.
Welcome to Las Vegas.
Yeah, pretty much. So we had a look around a few places, and then there was a house like in Kippax, which is like a little village, a little town from just down the road, 5 minutes down the road from Cass. So we moved into a house over there, and it was class, really. So moved in. Probably I moved up a couple of weeks before we started pre-season, so I could get a bit of a feel for the area before.
I imagine that wasn't a boring house, mate.
No, it was good. No, we were pretty good.
I can imagine. So again, it's a new environment, mate, and you're a little bit older now, but still, like I said, a young pup. How is it? Is it easier because you're going up with 4 or 5 lads that you know?
Yeah, it was easier because of that, but also like I'd also moved away from home before that anyway. At London, I was living in players' houses for 2 years before that. Right. So I was used to not being at home. It was just a case of not being able to pop home for the weekend or whatever. I'd be up north the whole time, which was good for me. Really, it was time for really just to grow as a person as well as a player.
Yeah, a bit of independence, mate.
Yeah.
So do you know when you're that it's me really being nosy, just to go back a little bit. Do you know when you're in these like player hours, especially at London, because you were a young lad, is it difficult would you have been in a house with lads that maybe didn't make it, so they'd go and someone else would move in? Is that a difficult situation, or?
Yeah, no, that wasn't really the case with us. I mean, we were all young lads, but we were all playing a game here or there.
Right.
There was a couple of players that would come on trial. They'd stay in like the spare room, and then they wouldn't. Sometimes, you'd see them one day and then they'd be gone.
Right.
But no, the only thing you'd get was obviously the disappointment of people not getting picked if you were picked, or vice versa kind of thing. But we had all the young lads down at London, like they all stuck together, and it was a good group of lads.
Yeah, no, I imagine sometimes it's a bit awkward if something's going right for half the house and not for the other. Yeah. So you're up there, mate, and how was your first derby? How was your first? Do you remember your first game for Cass and how it went?
Yeah, I think it was against. Oh no, it was against Saints away. We didn't play particularly well. Obviously, we lost that game, but I remember the game. I was on the bench, and then I came on at centre. I think it was.
Right.
But no, I didn't particularly do too much to really stand out. So it wasn't really a debut to remember, but obviously one that I do remember, but not really anything special happened.
Like looking back now, though, is it a bit of like? Is it a proud moment because it's a great step in where you want to get to?
Yeah. Looking back now, it's probably a lot more prouder than when I was at the time. You probably take it for granted at the time, but looking back now, it was a step up from where I had been before.
Right, and coming in, was there ever a chat with Darryl about whether you'd play back row or centre, or was you willing to play anywhere?
I was always going up there as a back row, but with the ability to play centre. I think we picked up an injury or something. That's why I played centre. Because I started on the bench, and then I think we picked up an injury to one of our players, so he had to go off and I came on. But
guess that's invaluable though, isn't it? Because it can make you possibly pick 4 forwards on the bench, Mike, and then you can drift out if you have to.
Yeah. Right. It's similar to kind of what I've been doing this year in terms of I've usually been back row out and out, and then now I've been able to move into the middle as well. So
I know you should have said, Steve, I play centre, not prop, mate. Like I go sideways, not inwards.
Yeah, he just laughed.
Do you know what though, mate? And we'll touch on it in a bit, but some people underestimate the positional change it is. Work rate, but it's not. You don't look out of place. It's not something that you look like. You don't look overawed or overwhelmed with the work rate, if that makes sense. And I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass. It suits you. Yeah, it suits you.
It's something, obviously, we'll talk about in a bit, but it's something that I massively enjoyed. To be fair, when I go in, something that makes me think whether it could be a permanent move or not. So,
nah. So, are you someone that could do with an early touch on an early involvement, or are you happy to be patient and come in when the time's right?
No, probably I like to get my hands on the ball early. It's something that I feel like if I don't get my hands on the ball early, you start to overthink it.
Yeah.
So
game can probably pass you by a little bit as well.
Yeah. It's amazing how quickly a game can go if you're that type of person. For me, I need to get involved soon. Otherwise, like I said, the game can go just like that. It can go quick.
Yeah, especially playing on an edge, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Even more so for that.
Yeah. Right. So you spell at Cass, mate. How did you feel it started? How was you with? I imagine you've never really had a meaningful derby without being rude down south, because You'd have played probably like summer friendlies, wouldn't you? But
yeah.
How was your first derby, mate?
It was good. I didn't actually play in it. I remember watching it. I think it was like the second game of the season, and I think it was the last time that Wakey beat Cass until recently, last few weeks when they beat them. But I remember driving into the stadium, and it was like crowds of people trying to get into the stadium, and pubs across the road absolutely packed. And I was thinking, oh yeah, how good is this? This is awesome. Like, this is what professional rugby league's about. Like, people here to watch us play. And that's no disrespect to obviously London, because obviously I owe them everything anyway. But the crowd level is just another step up, isn't it? Like,
yeah, they dedicate the weekend to you, I suppose.
Well, yeah. And when I moved from London to Cass, you realise what a culture change it is. Like, you go from London, rugby league, like where I grew up, was nothing really. You got rugby union, football, all them big clubs down there. You go here and people live and breathe rugby league, and they dedicate their week to watching the game. Yeah,
it does it. That's exactly it, mate. It dictates their life outside of work to a degree. The weekend, if you're away, they follow you. If you're at home, Friday night, a few pints. If you're on telly or whatever, watches. Saturday the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you're at Cass, mate, you're playing a grand final. Is that your first taste of a big occasion?
Yeah. So that was 2017. A big occasion, probably. I mean, I'd been fortunate enough to play in the mid-season test as well.
Sorry, I shouldn't. Yeah, so club rugby-wise, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of that, it was probably very similar in a way, but in different ways, because the mid-season test was a bit more hostile because of the fact there was no English in the stadium. But for the grand final, it was a massive. I remember waking up on grand final day and putting Sky Sports News on, and weirdly enough, like, to my surprise, there were supporter broadcasters in Cass, like going to CAFs in Cass, just interviewing people around the town, and I'm thinking, this is strange. But then you're thinking, I don't know what the population of Cass was, but but I think there was about 40,000 Cass fans going across the M62 that day to watch the game. So it was definitely walking out for that warm-up. First initial warm-up was pretty cool experience.
And it was, mate. So just that season building up, just if you can remember, was there any occasions where you just, because you'll have played in games that I ask everyone this, mate, was there certain games where you'll just have that feeling that it's going to be your day, and then when you're in it, the bounce of the ball comes your way, a decision comes your way? Did you feel a little bit unplayable because you were on fire that year, weren't you?
Yeah, there were probably quite a few days like that, really.
Yeah.
We turned, like, I think we put like 60 points on Leeds early in the season, and watching like clips of that back when they come up sometimes on like social media, you see like how good our movement was, and our attack was just like clicking. There was no rustiness to us at all. It was just flowing so fluently, and that was to both sides as well. You obviously, Gailey had an outstanding year that year.
Yeah.
We had Zach out back, and then Benny Roberts as well in the other half.
No, it's good because, like you said, it's like every pass, no one broke a stride, did they? Every pass was on the move.
Yeah.
To the right area. The your pass selection was spot on. Your lines of running were great. Everything just seemed right up until that. So, who do you support football-wise?
Man United.
So, no bigger day for you, really, as the mate is.
Yeah.
It's what teams are made of, I suppose. So, can you explain how that day is from watching Sky Sports News to the final whistle and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, like I said to you a bit before, like the game can go very quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a massive deal from the game, but I do remember like that we were just absolutely outplayed. Like from start to finish, we were probably went into there maybe. Well, not maybe. We did go in with that game too much confidence. Obviously, what happened before the game was with Zach and stuff like that. Yeah. But end of the day, we still had it's still that 17 to take onto the field who have to go out there and perform. And it probably wasn't, myself included, I didn't perform well. But there was only probably a handful of players in that team who probably did perform more than 7 out of 10. And to win a grand final, you can't be not at your best. And you certainly can't be conceding the amount of tries that we did. But yeah, we probably went into that game too much confidence and maybe a bit of arrogance in a way, thinking the week before like I said to you a minute ago, that we beat Leeds quite comfortably in the beginning of the season. We probably thought, we'll just do it again. And I remember the first few sets, I think Danny Maguire and Rob Burrow, they just absolutely used their experience and just kicked us off the field, really. They just turned us around and were happily just kick it in the corner and let them come out from there.
Yeah, and build pressure.
Yeah. They just used their experience to the max.
I was going to say, without being rude, it's probably the fact they've been there that many times.
Yeah.
And the same for you boys. We said there's certain games where you don't think you can do it wrong. I don't think that year, my memory's not amazing anyway, but I don't think you've been under real pressure, had you? So you hadn't probably been under your own post that much before.
No, probably just the week before and the Saints game in the semi-final. We probably thought, because like I say, we put a fairly comfortable score on them early in the season. And Saints weren't clicking as well as obviously what you see now.
Yeah,
they were going through. I think they just brought in Justin Holbrook towards the back end of the season, and we probably thought we'd breeze past them, but they turned up like they do, and we won by 1 point in Golden Point, I think it was. So we probably weren't in the best of form going into that grand final. I think we'd been clicking throughout the whole year and all that, but then we probably got a bit too confident going into that final.
Fair enough. Just put me the light on, Michael. Won't be a minute, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how had you been with injuries regarding your spell at Cass, mate?
Sorry, mate, I'm just trying to do the same.
No worries.
That's better. Yeah, no, not too bad. The occasional like hamstring injury. I think I broke my leg, and that put me out for about 10, 11 weeks. But no operations. I didn't actually have my first operation until I recently just had my thumb. I had a plate in it, and then before that I was good.
So how are you in rehab? Are you someone that gets frustrated, mate, or are you a patient lad?
I probably get frustrated. Yeah, I get pretty frustrated. But I also respect the physios in terms of that's what their job is.
Yeah.
They're qualified in doing that. My job is to play. So it's kind of horses for courses. I'm there to play. They're there to get me to play. So you've got to trust what they say.
Yeah. And how was you with... So what fans don't realise is we all love like transfer windows closing for us footballers, and it mate looks like our business is done anyway now, so we've no excitement. But so when it comes to like lads coming and going, when it comes to rugby league, because it's an hard working sport, mate, and it's without being rude to people, to working class sport played by absolute machines like yourself. How is it when you're building a relationship with someone and you've got one, and some lads are closer to others than some, and then they leave? Because I've never asked someone, but I'd find it. I've only played amateur, mate, so I'm quite lucky. Like mates are mates anyway, aren't they? Just like they are in rugby. But coming and going must be difficult to build relationships with, like, especially your early days on Geo Reg. They might have looked at you coming in for captain's runs and playing and being like, we're here all week grafting. Not realising you're grafting at London.
Yeah.
But do you get what I'm trying to say? Is it hard to build relationships for them to see them go, or?
No, well, I think it took me quite a while, but then you kind of get used to the fact that rugby league is a business. Like it's people come and go. It's just what it is, isn't it? Really, once you start taking it personally, that's kind of when you kind of gets to you, if you know what I mean. But once
it'll affect your game day as well, won't it? And,
Once you realise that it's a business, and you kind of just learn to live with it. You get happy, like you're happy all the time. To build relationships. Now I think it depends on like your coach, really, like how they integrate the group, whether they're happy for people just to go off in their own groups or whatever. But I know with like when I was at CAS, we always had like before the start of the season, we'd always have like a pre-season camp, whether in England or abroad in Lanzarote. But that always brought the whole group together.
A few beers and that.
Massively, And I think people want like see it as a thing of, you're rugby players, you shouldn't be out drinking or whatever. But it's just normal. It's just how you build a good bond is by just going to a pub and getting to know each other.
Loosening up.
Know each other. Like some people might not come out of their shell without like 4 pints in them, so it's good to see people come out of their shell. Yeah. And it's the same at every club. Like we over here, it's the same. Like it's all well and good getting to know each other in the changing room, but then you need to get to know each other outside as well.
Yeah. What fans might not realise, mate, and tell me if I'm wrong, but it's them tough moments when they come in the middle of seasons in the business end. When you come out the other side, it's because of them early 4-pint sessions or 8-pint or these tough camps, aren't they? It is, isn't it, mate? It's the pints bring that camaraderie, which then turn into you look across and you do out for that lad next to you or across from you. And
it's like kind of the things that lead to earning to go out kind of thing. So you go through a grueling pre-season and then you might have a social to unwind after a grueling pre-season. And it's like you say, that them moments in tough games where you're thinking, someone might miss a tackle, but you know that guy's going to cover up because you know full well that he works his arse off for this team, like, and he's always going to have someone's inside. Like he's just that type of person. So it builds a lot of trust, definitely. And it's something that I think is massively required. So
the World Cup come along as well while you were at CAS, mate, and you went along to that, mate, didn't you? And how is a tournament camp different to a series camp? And how was that tournament for you as well? Special occasion, I imagine.
Yeah, it was massive. I got like I said earlier, I played in that mid-season test, and then I got the call up to go to the World Cup in Australia, and and it's like, how good's this? Like, we flew out in business class, and it's like, this is a different world. And then you think rugby league's like big up in the north, and then you go over to Australia, and it's obviously headlines everywhere. It's front page newspaper stuff. And I think being able to then work under someone like Wayne Bennett as well just helped me massively. And it was a tough. I think we went out 2 weeks before, and there were tough training sessions beforehand. We did like an army camp on one of them, which was a grueling day, but then also we had a lot of social events as well, because Wayne Bennett was also keen he knew that like having a couple of beers with the lads as well was key to building that trust, not just working hard for each other, but having a beer with each other as well. So
did he get stuck in on camp as well? I've heard that. Yeah, fair play to him. Innit? Sorry to interrupt you, mate.
No.
Just while it was in my head, it's like
Yeah,
I heard he gets involved, and
he loves it. Like he works just as hard as anyone else. Really, you can see him. I remember seeing him outside the hotel once, and him and Jamie Peacock. They'd just been for like a 5-10K run. I was like, oh,
machine.
yeah, absolute beast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he obviously, the group of lads that we had there were real close together, and I think that showed from how close we were to actually being a very thing.
No, it was. I think as much as rugby league's known about in the country, it is, without being rude again, a northern sport. But I think you opened a whole new audience, didn't you? And you can't fault the effort you just put in that. So, had you been Oz before, mate?
Only the mid-season, yeah, and right. I loved it then.
Yeah.
And then when I went back, it was obviously we'd been able to travel to different places as well. And then my missus joined us once we finished in the camp. I stayed out there for like 10 days more and just like explored a few more areas as well. So yeah, I really like out there. Things really nice.
Was there plenty of that? Go on, sorry.
No, I was just about to say, like, just the whole, like the lifestyle around that area was just completely different.
Yeah, sorry, mate, to interrupt you there. Did you get much downtime to go and pick your activities, or was there like a social committee on tour that put stuff on for you?
So there was quite a bit of time. I think we had a lot of team meals in the evening, and then obviously training days. But on days off, it'd be because a lot of families came out for the whole 6-7 weeks.
Okay.
So it's obviously days off, go spend it with family, and obviously we had you had like James Graham, Tom Burgess, Sam Burgess, Gareth Widdop, I think still lived out there at that point, and then they all had family out there as well, so they could go see their family. So days off were spent to go do your own thing, and some lads would, obviously a lot of the English lads, we didn't have any family over there at that point, so we'd go off and go do different things. I remember one time, I think it was in Melbourne, we went scuba diving in the shark tanks, which was a pretty cool experience. Like, not something
not for me, that.
No, I didn't think that, but then I was thinking, you know, you're not going to get another opportunity like this.
Hey, I'm a chunky lad. They don't see me as like just something to look at. You know what I mean? It might be an opportunity for you, but it's more an opportunity for them if I'm there. Yeah, no, it just sounds like, other than the end result, even though it was a great experience tournament-wise, that it's a real, like, it's life moments, mate, isn't it? It's memories for you boys as well, and your families.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that, you know, you look back in 20 years, and when I'm working like a normal 9 to 5 job or whatever, and then you look back and think, oh, how many opportunities do you get to go for your job work, to go to the other side of the world and perform on that side? So it's something that, you know, something that'll definitely stick with me.
And doing it lying down, mate, with a glass of champagne as well, not like on the economy seats.
Yeah, getting a 3-course meal while you're at it too.
All right, mate, I was just getting the leftovers at the back of the plane there, and you're busy picking.
Oh, yeah.
So when you come back, mate, how does the Catalan move come about, and was anyone else interested? Was there anyone that you may have gone with before Catalan showed an interest?
So
don't have to name him. Was there just a potential for it to not happen, but it has happened with Catalan, sort of thing?
Yeah, so there was, when was it? It was, I don't know when it was.
I did get asked. I got asked to ask, was you close to signing for Warrington by a mate who's a Warrington fan? Because that was the strong rumour.
Yeah, no, I remember hearing that rumour, because I had people from CAS, like staff members, not like head coaches or anything like that, but like people that worked at the club were saying, oh, you signed it at Warrington, and I was like, not that I'm aware of, but it was always, I think it was just a rumour that I'd signed. But no.
Are they nice to hear though, Mike, considering the journey you've been on?
Yeah. obviously you hear people like Warrington are interested, and they're top clubs being interested. It just makes you feel like you're going in the right direction of wanting to improve, and you feel like you're going in that direction that you want to be going.
Yeah.
But when was it? It was 2019. I think Cass had offered a contract for me, and I remember sitting down with my missus, and I was like, well, I could quite easily, because it was a good offer, very good offer. And I was thinking I could quite easily just take it. It was another 3 years, security and all that. And this was before the end of the season, so I wasn't even speaking to other clubs or anything.
Yeah.
So I was there, and I remember speaking to her, and I was like, well, I feel like I'm not like stuck, but I feel like I'm just like steadily progressing. Like I'm not going like I did when I went from London to Cass. Like I went up, and I felt like I was like, so I need to go somewhere different. I need to get out of my comfort zone, because I felt too comfortable where I was. So they offered me a deal, and I just said, in the nicest way, I don't want to reject it, kind of thing, but I want to also see what else is out there. Just to explore, because I don't want to be going to the end of my career as well and thinking, oh, what if I'd have done this, or what if I'd have done that. So I waited. I think it was 2019, and then obviously COVID came in 2020.
Yeah.
And things before COVID were going, like things were starting to move along a bit with clubs. And I don't want to name names, because obviously it's a bit.
No, yeah.
But there was like interest from clubs, and they were just getting ready to kind of maybe put an offer on the table. And then COVID hit. It put a halt to everything. So it was a bit of obviously you had the whole pandemic anyway.
Yeah.
And then I'm in a situation where I'm like, well, like many other players, we were in situations where clubs are getting told they're going to have to make a lot of cuts. They're not going to have as much money as what they thought they were going to have. And now we're out of contracts. So it was a long wait. And then I think it was just as we're coming out of lockdown, not like fully out of lockdown, but like, when it started to calm down a bit.
Yeah.
Like the restrictions started to ease a bit. And I think Steve he must have been in Hull with his family during COVID, during lockdown. My agent called me and said, oh, Steve's up in Hull. He'd like to meet you. This was when obviously he's not breaking any laws or anything like that
before you get in trouble.
Or like stick their oar in and say, breaking protocols or whatever. No, it was when we were allowed to meet outside, and obviously 2 meters or whatever, how many meters were kept at the time. But he came over to my house, and we had a coffee in the back garden, and it was just not just me, but he wanted to meet my missus as well, to see how they would be interested. She would be interested. And we had a daughter, one of my eldest daughter, sorry. At the time, she was only young, and he was wondering, would we be interested at all to be moving over there? And
that's quite a nice touch, Mike, isn't it?
Massively, yeah, because I'd experienced it before. I'm not saying that as a bad thing to Pauli, because I was only a 20-year-old kid when I signed at Cass. So, and I know he met with people before Pauli. Like Pauli had met with like Gailey and stuff when he signed there. So I wasn't expecting to have it before people say, "Oh, he's a terrible person for not doing it for me." But like, it was just
but I mean for the family as well, isn't it? The fact that he's bothered about the whole package rather than just you.
It was a massive touch, and I was like, "Oh, like how good is this?" Like he's wanting to just not just meet me, but he wanted to make sure my missus was interested in coming, and whether she would be comfortable with moving over there. Because it's not just an easy move to come over here. It's you got a language barrier, but also my missus was working at the time, so she's now gone from working full time to being with the kids like full time, and obviously now we take them to like childminders and like nurseries over here, so
yeah,
it's a bit different. But it's a lot different to how they're used to working all the time and then suddenly not. But yeah, no, going back to that anyway. So he came over and just explained what direction Catalan were going in. And when my agent told me that they were interested, I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely somewhere that I'd be interested in going to, because of the way that they had gone from since he taken over in 2017, and they'd obviously won the Challenge Cup in 2018. 2019 they were building again, and then 2020 they were in around top 4 area.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, that's definitely somewhere where I could see myself. So a few weeks later, there was an offer on the table, and it was just negotiating the terms and conditions, and it was good to go.
Fair enough. And if you're not blind, mate, you're a bright lad. You'd have seen what everyone else would have seen. They're no longer signing foreign imports at the back end of their career. And they're no longer losing every game away.
Yeah.
It's definitely changed, mate, hasn't it?
Yeah. And that was the main thing, was like, is it just going to be a case of them bringing in players and just like them wanting to go out there and party or whatever? And probably the stereotype that people think that we have over here is that we come over here for the holiday or just to come out here and enjoy the beach bars. But Steve's like installed a good mentality of, we're here to win. We're not here to go down to the beach for 6 hours of the day and just lie there. We're here to play rugby. And, don't get me wrong, there's a great lifestyle out here, but for me personally, I made it clear to him. I was like, I'm not here to come for the holiday. I'm here to win something.
Yeah.
And I think that shows, like, him coming out to meet me was obviously what he does to the players. Anyway, he wants to select the right players and make sure they're coming for the right reasons. And I think he's shown that with the people he signed.
Definitely, yeah. Obviously, you get a feel for people, mate, don't you? Especially face to face and that. But yeah, I spoke to Sam, and he said, obviously, with Perpignan being about with the different codes, and he said one village, everyone will know you.
Yeah,
he said you're literally 5 minutes down the road, and it's fully Perpignan, and no one knows you.
Yeah.
He said it's very bizarre. So how do you find that?
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it's pretty relaxed. I live in the same village as Sam now. No, I have been for just over a year now. But in terms of being recognised, he's probably a bit more with the lingo.
Yeah.
He can speak the language a bit better than me. So when people go up to him, they know that he's going to be able to speak back to them. I think they know with me, I'm just going to be there and just say we, and then
nod and smile.
They could be saying anything to me, and I just go, oh yeah, we. But yeah, no. In terms of like, I don't know whether like they just don't come up to you because they don't know who you are, or because they know that they know you don't speak English, or I think they're just a bit more chilled out. Whereas, like I say, in towns like Caswake, Leeds, or like regions of Leeds, not Leeds city centre, but you get people knowing who you are, and you can go out for a night out, and people will go up to you all the time and like give you crap, or like wanted to tell you their life story of how they could have been a rugby player and all that.
Yeah, advising how you should be playing and that.
Yeah. So you get all that all the time, but here it's a lot more chilled, and I don't know whether that's because of the French lifestyle or what, but yeah, no, it's a good mix of fans really. You got USAP, who are now in the top league in France, and then Catalans, who are we're doing good things in Super League.
Yeah, no, it must be thriving. But are you aware of whether I don't know if I asked Sam or Gil this really, but did he interact with each other commercially, are you aware, to sort of entice your fans there and vice versa, or like that?
Not particularly, no.
Something to be done there, probably, isn't there?
Yeah, potentially. I know they like to have things similar, but they also like their distance as well.
All about identities, I suppose, in it, mate. And
also they're sharing the ground with them, but people are like, no, we can't do that. We've got our ground and they've got their ground. So there's some bits that I think we share some sponsors, but at the same time, I think we like to be pretty separate as well. But then it's not like separate in terms of people. I think there's a lot of Islander communities from USAP and Catalan. They all like to get along as well. Like they always have gatherings together and stuff like that. So it's a big community together as well.
Good stuff, mate. So how have you found your spell so far? And can you see your game getting better and better? Because I think fans definitely can, mate. And we touched on it before, like your versatility. So if you could play centre, you could play in the middle third. You're offer Catalans an awful lot on and off the ball. So how have you found it so far, mate?
Yeah, very enjoyable. Like I said, I've come out here to not for a holiday. I've come out here to like try and win some silverware, and I think it was just like the change that I needed, and again being out of my comfort zone to develop my game and have the opportunity to do that. I've just really been enjoying the rugby side of things, which just help with the lifestyle type of things as well. So with us being able to perform on the field, it makes it a lot more better, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, happy on, mate, happy off.
Yeah.
And then that affects your home life that fans probably don't take into account. Like you said, you've got the missus, you've got the kids.
Yeah.
If you're happy, it spirals off to them. And
and I think well, the first year that we were here, like last year, was with COVID, it was quite difficult off the field. Over here, we weren't allowed like any family. We just had our newborn then, so we weren't allowed any family or anything like that over here because of no flights from England were allowed in France. So that made it pretty difficult. Obviously, rugby on the field, it was great. It was fine, and off the field, it was just me and my missus and our two kids. It made it realise how good the English community, like English players and all that, were over here, and obviously the French lads as well.
Yeah,
they'd help out with like language barriers, or if we needed anything sorting, they'd obviously be there to help. But because we live pretty close to each other around here, like I say, Sam's in the same village, Gil and Mickey are in like a village just down the road.
Yeah.
It made you realise like how close a community we have, and how strong a bond we all have with each other, because we're always there to muck in when we never need help or something like that. So
yeah,
it was good. It was tough with COVID, but it made you realise that we have a good place here.
Yeah, no, obviously your family are missing out on the little firsts and stuff, aren't
they?
And
which made it difficult. Yeah,
I imagine so, but all the more sweeter, I suppose, when barriers were open. And
yeah, massively. Yeah, definitely.
We're not back to normal yet, mate, but hopefully we're getting there, aren't we? And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So another grand final appearance comes, and again, you're running out at the Faded Greens, which would be massive for fans like me and you, United and that, mate. And you've got that little bit more experience, and he's very much within the game all the way through. And was there any standout moments in that year, or was it a little bit like the Cash year where you were on a constant roll? That I don't recall ever. If you did get beat, it wasn't a big defeat, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Again, we probably weren't perfect all year. We just had a good way of winning. Like, even if we weren't playing well, we would pick up the 2 points.
Yeah, got that bit.
Like we'd just find a way of winning. And you get to the grand final again, and I think that game at Magic was pretty special as well, where we were 18 points down and we came back to win it by 1 point, which was, I think, it just, like I said, we weren't playing well, but we found a way to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting to the grand final was, I think the semi-final. Sorry, I don't want to be going away from it, but the semi-final as well was a massive. That was kind of like the grand final for the fans because of COVID restrictions. They couldn't really get to Old Trafford,
Yeah.
so they turned out in their numbers for that semi-final, and it was something that you'd never seen before. Like, I don't know if you'd seen it, the scenes on telly, like there was flares going off as we had to get up. We usually just turn up at the game and park up, but we had to park up at the owner's factory, Bernard's factory, which was near the airport, get a bus, and then get the bus to the stadium with police transport because it was that busy. And yeah, when we got off the bus, everyone was already there, the fans. This is like an hour and 45 before kickoff.
And it flares in.
Yeah, flares going off, just a massive party atmosphere already. And it was just something that you'd never seen before. So that was pretty special, to be fair.
Yeah, but it is intimidating for them to come into that, isn't it? A bit like the football, what we see in England now, mate, isn't it? When it's a high intense game,
You know, you see like you watch any French football, but you see like Marseille, their fans, and people like at Borussia Dortmund, people like that,
bouncing.
Yeah, just crazy.
So you mentioned, sorry, before we go back to the grand final, a couple of concepts, or Magic Weekend as a concept.
Yeah.
Easter weekend, not a lot of players like. So what do you think about Magic? Is that something you're enjoying like? And on the same hand, how do you find the double-header weekends? Are they tough going?
Yeah. So Magic Weekend, I think it's good. I think it's very good. It'd be good to see a packed out stadium throughout the whole weekend, rather than drips and droves of people that you see. I don't know whether that's something that the people that run it can do, whether they can make it more entertaining for people to stay and more enticing for people to stay the whole day. But that's obviously not my pay grade, so
I'll leave it to them, mate, innit?
In terms of the concept, I think it's good. I think it's, all teams playing at the same stadium for one weekend. It's something that you can really market pretty well. Whether it stays in Newcastle or goes to like a different stadium, but I think people would be open to it. I think I really like Newcastle, but it's like when you've been to a place for a few times, you kind of want to go somewhere new, don't you, as well?
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see where they go to next with it. I don't know whether it's there next year or I'm not sure.
I think it is back at Newcastle, I think.
Right, okay.
The fan centre, you probably don't want to get involved in that sort of thing, but on the socials, the fan socials tend to enjoy Newcastle. To be fair, mate. So a bit like you said, maybe there's something more around the day they can do.
Yeah, well, in terms of the fans, I can understand that because it's obviously right near Newcastle city centre, so you can
exactly
Iron Centre in there. Like it's perfect in terms of that. Easter weekend, it's one of them that you just kind of, it's a mental one. You play on the Thursday and you play on the Monday, or you play on the Friday, you play on the Monday. Like it's just mental. Like you need to just get your head. It's about who's mentally on rather than physically. I don't particularly think they're good for the game. I don't think even for a spectacle, I don't think they're good, because that Monday game, I don't really remember seeing a Monday game that's end-to-end stuff, or like you see on a Thursday, for example, you'll see Wigan versus Saints. They'll be going hammer and tong like at each other.
First choice team as well,
On that Monday, you might see a few of them play again, but then there's errors left, right, and centre, or there's injuries as well. So it's not. You just got to look at player welfare as well, and the quality of the game.
Yeah, I think they've done away with double headers, Mike, as well, so it might not happen now.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've seen that somewhere, the double headers.
Yeah, I think they've only brought it in this year because of the World Cup, haven't they? So
yeah, they put in a few fixtures forward for a free weekend for you boys at the end.
Yeah, I think it was probably that. And last year was only on because of COVID just kind of got everything together, didn't it? So
yeah, right, mate. So grand final day, but for a different side, is the build up pretty much the same?
This time, no, not really. We came over on the Thursday. which was good. We flew over from Perpignan, Liverpool, Manchester. We managed to get the bus to Old Trafford, had a little look around there. Press were there to interview people. Then we stayed in the centre of Manchester, so it was a good little spot. Go for a coffee and that when we got back to the hotel, and it was just a real chilled feeling. I don't know whether me personally, but just like the experience of not really looking into the press at all, or because nowadays I don't really look into any social media or anything like that. Like we feel like my Twitter and all that. I don't really go on it anymore. That's a different story. But yeah, so on the Friday, team run, normal team run really, apart from obviously in a different country.
Yeah.
The only difference would be that we'd go home, but we'd go to the hotel and we'd have some time we'd usually go home to our families or whatever, but this time we'd obviously stay together and go for a coffee, a feed, whatever.
Yeah.
Then game day was a bit different because this time we were at the hotel, but last time when I was at Cass, we travelled on the day.
Okay.
I don't think personally and I think Paolo would probably look back now and say and tell you himself it wasn't a good idea to travel on the day.
Yeah.
Because of, like I say, there was 30,000 odd people going across the M62 as well. So we were trying not to think about the game on the back in 2017, and you're stuck in traffic on the M62 with people that are going to the game. So,
and they know what you use because you're in a posh bus.
yeah. Posh-ish. So you couldn't not think about the game there. Whereas this year, obviously you think about the game, it's the biggest game of the year, so you're there, but you just chilled at the hotel and do whatever you would do at home at the hotel. So then got to the ground, and then this time around there wasn't as many fans because, like I say, the COVID restrictions made it difficult for our travelling fans, which is why the semi-final was so big for them. And we went out for warm-up, and it was loud for what we had. I think we only had it was quite mad what we had. We had like a chartered plane for our fans, so there was a couple of chartered planes that would fly fans and sponsors out. So it was just them in one section of the crowd that you could hear. So it was pretty cool. But it was also pretty cool to see fans from other teams just supporting.
I was going to say that. Yeah, I think you had the neutrals, mate, because I was in your end. And they put like the flags in the seats.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people bought into us. Like the neutrals bought into you, I think, mate, to be honest with you.
Sorry, we found that a lot as well at Magic, where we were down by 18 points, and then suddenly we started turning it around. I think we got to 6 points, and then suddenly whole stadium, apart from the Saints end, were like cheering us on. So
do you feel that?
Yeah, massively. That day especially, we could sense that people were all with us. And it just felt like a massive boost. So this time round, it was a bit different in terms of spectators, but it was definitely one more enjoyable experience this time. Yeah.
So several people have asked that have played in a grand final, mate, say that walk. And I can imagine for you, other than a World Cup final and semi-final, because there's so many atmospheres you'd have played in, is an intense walk when the fireworks are going off. It's like FA Cup final day of the year, isn't it? When you just walk out next to each other in the tacky tops or whatever. How does that get you? Does that get you going for the game, or are you able to compartmentalise that? And
I think if you're not up for the game by that point, you definitely would
something wrong. Yeah.
And also, there's something wrong with you if you're not.
Yeah.
If you're not up for the game after the warm up of a grand final, then I don't think you're in the right sport, or you've got like no pulse.
Yeah.
No, it's just something that you realise, like, you get a hunger for. You're like, this is what you play the game for. These are the moments that you want to play in. You don't want to be part of any mid-table thing. You want to be part of the top games, and you walk past, like you say, the big flames, fireworks are going off, and it's like, yeah, we're on here, let's go.
So both your previous moves, mate, surely must feel justified by getting to them occasions, national selection, because maybe before that move, them moves, you may have been in and around it, but you wouldn't be as heavily fancied.
No,
with not being rude to nobody, sorry, mate.
That was the reason why I wanted to do the move.
Yeah, it justifies your moves.
Make myself a better player. And I think to do that, I had to go out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So both moves were to get out of my comfort zone to make me a better player.
Yeah. So the ideal end to a season, mate, would be back at our Field of Dreams, mate, wouldn't it? And
yeah, definitely, yeah.
This time lifting it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to come so close last year, just 2 points in it. You go off the field mentally drained and physically drained. I think the difference between last year and the 2017 season was that everyone in that dressing room at Catalan, we looked at each other and we knew everyone gave their all that game. There was a couple of areas where we could have improved to perhaps win the game or stop them from scoring, but no one looked at each other and thought, "Oh, you could have done better," or "I could have done better." Like everyone, 1 to 17, gave their all, and everyone was.
You can say that on the chin, can't you, mate?
Yeah, you kind of you're upset that you've lost, but you don't.
Of course you are.
You're not like there, like thinking, "Oh, I've missed." Like I'm gonna regret this for the rest of my life, kind of thing. You're kind of there, like, yeah, I'm gutted. But for me personally, anyway, I was like, yeah, I'm gutted, but I was proud of everyone in that room, and I was proud to have played in that game with them lads.
Yeah, right, mate. I appreciate it's late and stuff. So we'll get on to some daft questions, mate, if that's okay. So, any pre-match superstitions?
Probably quite a few, yeah, but not all of them that I want to say, because I might get locked up because I'll probably get called like crazy.
Does it like structure your day though? You don't have to name it.
No.
Because some people are quite obsessive, aren't they? And some people don't have any.
Not like at this time I have to do this kind of thing. It's just like certain. I don't know really. Maybe like the same. I'll always wear the same budgie smugglers for a game or stuff like that, really.
Yeah.
Not like, I can imagine there being some. I can imagine probably Gil had a few things that he did.
Said he used to.
Yeah.
But it's eased a little bit, mate. Yeah, it's eased. A lot of it's just like the same grub or similar time of day.
Yeah, I used to be like that. I used to have like the same pasta meal. And the thing that actually stopped me from doing that was actually them short turnarounds. I remember on the Friday or Thursday, and then you're thinking, then on the Sunday, I'm eating the same thing. And I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, so quick.
I can't have like chicken pasta and then chicken pasta again. Like, nah, I've got to change this.
I suppose kick-off times can mess that up a little bit as well. Obviously, you're quite popular at Catalan, so you don't tell you a fair bit, but
yeah,
I imagine kick-off times can disrupt that, can't they?
Yeah, for me personally, I like to try and stick, not to the same meals, but like to the same timings of meals, kind of things. Even if it's like a 3 o'clock kickoff, I'll try and eat the same amount of time before as I would for a 8 o'clock kickoff.
Fair enough, mate. So the toughest player you've played with and against, bear in mind, toughest is a different definition for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Toughest player.
Mickey Mack, very popular, mate.
Yeah, I was about to say toughest player that I played was probably Mickey Mack, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably someone that you look at when you play against him and think, yeah, he's tough. Like, very tough. But then you play with him and you're like, yeah, no, he's definitely very tough.
Yeah,
hard. Throws himself into tackles is unbelievable.
Oh, he is, mate. He's like, ruthless, isn't he?
You're like, he's not tackling you, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, how are you still like standing off that?
Yeah. Steve, I still want to play a second row, mate. Leave the front row.
Yeah, but he's like one of these people that you think when you don't know him, and people like, well, fans or whatever, they'll be like, oh, he's a grub or whatever, but then he just plays the game hard. He plays the game. He plays he works his arse off for his teammates, and he'll always put his hand up, whether he's injured or carrying a knock or whatever. He'll always put his hand up.
He's a tone setter, mate, isn't he?
Yeah. And then also off the field, he's like one of the nicest guys you'll meet. Like, he'll do anything for you. Like, so this people that say, "Oh, he's an idiot" and all that. Like, I'm like, well, you don't know him, so
that's it. Yeah, they judge him on an hour and a half performance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Right. So the toughest player you played against?
Probably someone like Tommy Lillewhite. I'd probably say, like the way
not been whacked by him, have you?
No, who have I been whacked by?
So you don't want a Tommy whack there.
No. Thankfully, I played on the other side, opposite sides to him.
Yeah.
Who actually caught me once? Might have been Paliacina, maybe. I remember being caught once and I just went horizontal.
You won't be the only one, mate, will you?
No. It's one of them where you get caught and you're like, it's not as bad as it thinks, but like you watch it back and you're like, wow, I actually like nearly flipped. But in terms of, I've never actually come 1-to-1 against Tommy Lillewhite, but watching him and playing, obviously I played against him. Yeah. He like bats well above his weight, doesn't he? Like he's.
Oh, he does, mate. Yeah.
Holds people in half even to this day.
Yeah.
We made jokes of it. You say you don't run straight at Tommy because they just fold you in half. His shoulders made of granite.
Yeah, fans don't know that, don't they? Fans say you don't go there, Tommy.
Yeah.
So your favourite away ground, mate?
Favourite away ground?
Are you someone that likes the old school ground, or do you like the newer ones?
Yeah. I probably like the newer ones better. I liked it when I played at Cass.
Yeah.
Playing away at Cass now, you realise how small those away changing rooms are. And you see why people don't like playing at Cass. Favourite away ground?
Just get a decent reception there, though, mate.
I've only played there a couple of times now. I missed last game through injury, and I only played 20 minutes when we played there before I broke my thumb. Before that, it was just after COVID, so I think there's only like 5,000 fans allowed. We played there, and to be fair, I wasn't expecting it, but they actually gave me a round of applause, and I thought, "Oh, this is a decent touch." This because I didn't expect it at all, and it was the first time I'd obviously seen the fans since I'd moved away from the club, because I'd moved away from the club during lockdown and COVID.
Yeah. It's not like you're going to do an Adebayor and run to the other end, is it?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
I'd never have the lungs to do that anyway.
So,
probably Saints ground's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's like pretty modern in it and up to date, but also because my granddad was a Saints fan, so probably a good little touch there.
Is that a game you'd look out for due to your granddad?
Not massively. I think Catalan fans in general look out for Saints fans.
Saints games.
There's a big rivalry between. Well, for some reason, Catalan fans don't. They always want us to beat Saints, obviously because they're one of the best teams in the league. But I think they like how it can be a really competitive game, and they appreciate how competitive the game can be.
Yeah, they love a grafting sport, don't they? So like the top 14 in France, which is the Premiership for Rugby Union, is a proper like slugfest, in it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they've got the flamboyant, mercurial players, but if you look at it over the total 80, it's an absolute slugfest, isn't it? And
like they love a tough player. That's why they love people like Mickey as well. Like over here, they like adore him over here because he'll go out and fly out and fold someone in half. Like Ben Garcia as well, our captain. Like he's someone who's like a tough player and they appreciate the work they put in.
Freedom in a village, yeah, Mickey.
Oh yeah.
Key to the village.
Yeah.
So say you were out, mate, and you've had a few, and the microphone ends up in your hand. What are you giving the French crowd?
Oh, probably a bit of the Killers, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just because it's an easy one to remember, and everyone loves the chorus. What's the name of the song?
Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, everyone loves that chorus as well.
I should have left that and tried to get you to give us a line.
Yeah, no, I've not had any beer, so that's not happening.